concept when that's not the original concept.
Exactly.
It's not our culture. I call Roman culture, you call European culture. You talk about cultural, you know, it depends on
Everyone is going back to
you talking about melanated people.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
Okay, we need to talk about what's happening in Jamaica right now, because nobody is talking about the coincidence, the shocking coincidence, that Jamaica signed on to do, and now is experiencing this Category 5 hurricane that's wiped out the frickin' island. My thoughts and prayers go out to all those affected, and now let's get into it. So did you know that Jamaica signed on to something called Vision 2030, where they want to change a lot of how Jamaica was, and they have all these fancy buzzwords, but what it really is surveillance, smart grid, smart technology, smart city. Kind of like what happened in Hawaii. As you can see on the website, you see the Sustainable Development Goals. That's Agenda 21. Now, Agenda 21, as we know, is the shocking agenda to do a lot of things to all the countries in the world, which seem good on the surface. Equality, diversity, inclusion, when it really comes down to surveillance, control, and basically a prison without bars, controlled by AI. Jamaica has a comprehensive plan for smart city development, including a new city project. How are you going to build a new city where there already is one? Oh, what happened to Maui? What happened to other places that had a smart city planned? What happened, the other thing I was thinking too is, what happened to the hurricane that blew into South Carolina, where they found a massive lithium deposit and then a hurricane wiped out the whole area and they're telling people they can't build there anymore? Vision 2030 Jamaica, absolutely shocking. The plan to test and implement smart technologies. Improve your quality of life. Yeah, talk to a robot every freaking day. Real lifestyle quality there, dude. And then also, drive economic growth. Do you mean economic units, where they judge you based on carbon credits and there's no longer currency? Is this the whole plan? Let me know if you think this is just a shocking coincidence. But actually, I guess I didn't really say, how would a hurricane have anything to do with this plan? Unless, of course, you could do anything to modify the weather. But surely weather modification is totally fake and impossible, right? And it would never be used nefariously against innocent people.
Mark Strassman is in Miami, where researchers are creating their own storms in a state-of-the-art lab. It could end up saving lives. Mark, good morning.
Good morning. This tank gives scientists and the rest of us a view no one has ever had before. What a hurricane's power looks like at water level as it storms ashore. In just 2 minutes, scientists here can take calm waters and turn them into a monster hurricane.
The wind is gradually getting stronger and stronger as it's coming up here, and it's ramping up to a Category 5. It's probably about a Category 3 right now.
This 75-foot-long tank is the first simulator in the world capable of creating a Category 5 hurricane over water. Brian House is the director of the University of Miami's new laboratory at the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science.
What was it like when you cranked it up the first time, full blast?
It was stunning. I mean, it was it was chilled.
Nearly 40,000 gallons of seawater fill this tank. House uses a computer program and a single 1,700 horsepower fan with wind speeds up to 157 miles per hour.
This tank is the largest wind wave facility in the world. We can generate an extreme Category 5.
House and his team want to understand why some hurricanes make landfall and fizzle out, while others become catastrophes.
It's the heat of the ocean that powers the hurricane. We know that gasoline drives a car, but if you didn't know how much you were pouring into the engine, you wouldn't know how fast it's going to go.
What this is going to help teach you is how the gasoline gets into the engine of the hurricane.
Exactly.
Their focus is storm surge. Rising waters historically caused 9 out of 10 hurricane-related deaths. During Hurricane Katrina in 2005, storm surge killed 1,500 people. Dr. Rick Knapp, director of the National Hurricane Center in Miami, has high hopes for the new lab.
It's very rewarding as a scientist who tends to look at the atmosphere mostly via computer screens to see a real live laboratory.
For years, forecasters at the center have relied on computer models to predict a storm's course. Hurricane hunters have flown into storms and dropped probes to gauge its intensity.
Research like this in a laboratory is one of the critical pieces we need to perhaps lead to more accurate forecasts and warnings.
Gut level tell you this thing will be a lifesaver?
We are going to find some things that are going to change the way we forecast hurricanes, and because we can do it better, we can save lives.
intellectual, spiritual enlightenment. What happens to it? If you try and tell people the truth and try and help them to understand, they will turn you into the authorities. They will turn against you. Just continue to badmouth and to persecute people who are trying to educate you. A man's enemies will be those of his own household. And with your heart, you do not get the sense of it. So do the best you can to try to help your fellow man. But the one thing that most people don't appreciate is how our world is being run for us by secret people who we don't even know exist. We don't know who they are, and we'll never hear their names. The people who really run this planet, the real bosses, you will never see or hear from or know their name or anything else. You will never ever hear their names. You will never see a picture of them. They are in control. They make the decisions, and that's the name of the tune. I've been very interested all my life in who really is running the planet Earth, who really owns us. And where does all this stuff come from? Our religions, our military, industrial operations around the world. It's just an incredible story of secret people running our world for us. And we don't care because we don't do anything about it. There's more poor and working class poor people on the earth than there is the elites. And if the poor people were to stay together and stand together, instead of trying to destroy each other, if we stood together, we would be a profoundly important force for good and for exposing what's going on. And so there's a lot of good people like yourself who are trying to help others to wake the world up to what's really going on. So that's what we're doing here. We're just trying to keep you awake and awaken you to the fact that the world is not what you think it is. Nothing operates the way you think it does.
And now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental, however, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, do those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now.
The utter disrespect, mumbo-jumbo. Disrespectful to your ancestors. Calling it mumbo-jumbo. Meanwhile, we had a natural way of tapping into nature and creating or causing natural occurrences. See these dudes? Opposite. You do some things that are unnatural and they have the results that you get from using unnatural means.
Publicly, HAARP is said to transmit about 3.6 megawatts of high-frequency radio power into the sky. Scientists tell us that sounds big, but they say compared to nature, it's tiny. When the sun hurls out a massive solar storm, it can dump millions of times more energy into the ionosphere than HAARP ever could. And here's the thing. Those solar storms do affect life down here. They've been known to knock out satellites, disrupt radio signals, shut down power grids, and even create ground currents strong enough to damage pipelines. Some studies suggest they can subtly shift atmospheric circulation too, meaning changes in the ionosphere can ripple down into weather systems. That's why mainstream physicists argue HAARP is harmless. They say, compared to the sun, it's like a flashlight shining into the ocean. They say its energy is simply too small to matter. But here's the catch. Those are the numbers reported to the public, and this is where the theories begin. What if HAARP is capable of transmitting far more than emitted, and its true capacity is hidden behind military-funded, classified walls? Critics believe that if HAARP can project much larger bursts of HF energy, it could heat the ionosphere enough to create rippling effects downward, nudging jet streams, altering storm paths, maybe even magnifying natural disasters. And this isn't without precedent. Cloud seeding has been used for decades to force rainfall. In the 1960s, the U.S. military ran Project Storm Fury, an attempt to weaken hurricanes. These projects were real, so the idea of using a massive radio array to influence the sky doesn't feel so impossible. So is HAARP just an oversized radio lab, or could it be a far more powerful tool?
You see, when I make dirty Melissa wash away, but I want to know if you stick up in that and really listen to this. Don't sell no land, yeah? You see, when I start me pass, don't sell no land. Because I really feel like, say, them are going to try to send in foreign aid, if say them are going to help with. Like how it landfall down at St. Elizabeth, which is the bread basket of Jamaica, where a whole heap of food plant. Farmers, me a beg you know, any food when I got plant from now, save it and store it and save where the seeds them. Jamaican people, we must go back to train partner and saving and building a community and sharing food. Don't take none of these foreign aid people something and don't make them trick you into selling your land. Yeah? Jamaican people, come home and buy up on a land. Buy up a land, Jamaican people.
In all actuality, sister's onto something. There's a lot of truth in what she's saying. There's a bigger agenda here. You always got to look at the bigger picture. And usually, with these dudes, it's a land grab. So, you know, you can say, oh, it's quote-unquote conspiracy theory, but what kind of technology do we have? What do you think we have? You have no clue of what we're capable of.
How would a hurricane have anything to do with this plan? Unless, of course, you could do anything to modify the weather. But surely weather modification is totally fake and impossible, right?
Using a laser core stolen from G.I. Joe, Destro activates the Weather Dominator, an incredible weapon which controls the forces of nature itself. The Joe team repels a lightning attack on Washington, D.C., and the Weather Dominator explodes into 3 parts, setting off a chain reaction of natural disasters around the world.
I literally remember that as a child. I was a little kid, and I remember that distinctly. But fast forward here today, you would think like, oh, well, you know, how do you explain that? They're straight up telling you.
Yo, Joe! Hold it! What the heck is that?
The poor Joes are too hot, Destro. Cool them down at once.
With pleasure, Commander.
We're losing altitude. Can't control it. Ship too heavy from ice and snow buildup.
Our friends are coming to a standstill, Destro. They need something to spark them up.
I know just the thing, Commander. Hang on!
Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts.
Yeah, they call it science fiction, but what's fiction is the storyline. The science is actually factual. That's the real part. But, you know, they disguise it, so you would think it's a movie or it's a good show and you're being entertained. Meanwhile, they're telling you 20, 30, sometimes even further in advance what kind of technology that they're already dealing with. Because they don't come up with it for the show or the movie. They already have this thing working. So what they do is they feed you theoretical science and give it to you under that guise. It's a theory, it's theoretical. Meanwhile, they're already manipulating reality and utilizing what they are telling you is theoretical. To gain some real insight, looking at it from the perspective of the scientists just being helpful to humanity and working towards a solution for problems that we all have, opposed to those who weaponize the science And you know that that's usually what happens before we get any technology. The powers that be usually have the technology 20, sometimes even up to 50 years in advance. And we've seen this throughout history. I mean, the television was created around somewhere in the 1930s, early 1930s. Yet the Americans who are affluent only had them in the homes in the 50s. Same things with the computers and cell phones. They were created in the 60s. We had them in the 80s. See, they believe that the general public are a bunch of idiots. And I kind of sort of agree, but at least 85%. And that's how we're taught. Dumb, deaf, and blind are 85% of the population, which is evident. You can see this in the general public. Most people are silly, just by definition. So I understand why they do what they do, but not to this extent. I keep trying to tell my people, stop burying your head in the sand. You know part of your body is still sticking up when you bury your head, right? I know you want to manifest, and I know you think that everything is going to be great and the world is going to be perfect. And it will. But that doesn't mean that you won't go through something. Let's be realistic, all right? You live in the world, act like it.
Whatever you want to call us, Moors, Africans, black people, we had nobility.
The original concept
Where we come
we're
from.
not following today. Now that's some thought for food.